What's up, guys? I'll be live on my Twitch channel as this video going up, so if you want to stop by, links in the description below. Love to chat with y'all. But anyways, back to the content at hand. Well, pending no huge plot twist, our discussed hopes for the week didn't quite seem to make it to fruition, which leaves us a kind of clearer image of the future at least. But today, Modern Warfare got a mini update that brought along with it the usual suspects in terms of changes to be made. So in today's video, I want to let you know everything that changed and what all is different since your last login, and what also may still be to come now that without it happening today, it kind of solidifies a bit more of what to expect and when. So with that said, let me know your thoughts down below. What are you looking forward to the most out of the rest of Season 3 for Modern Warfare? And as well, if you're part of that nearly 75% of viewers who are not subscribed, do be sure to do so to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare and Warzone on a daily basis, especially as we round closer towards Season 4 and all that's coming up, including what should be the next Call of Duty teasers here in the relative near future. But anyways, let's talk about today's update and what it means for the rest of Season 3. So, like we mentioned, not really much out of the ordinary changed today. To me, there was a little bit of a hope of title update given the recent discussion in public forums like Twitter, but that doesn't seem to have happened. We'll revisit that idea and what may be the new timing for that, but before that, let's get into the things you can play around with right now. So, primarily the biggest parts here that changed were the playlist adjustments. On the MP side of things, we saw the introduction and continuation of things like Realism Mosh Pit, Standard Ground War, replacing Boots on the Ground War, Gunfight Blueprints, Gunfight 3v3 Knives Only, Demolition, and Dirty Old Houseboat. Now, also not listed on the main menu tiles that you end up seeing right there in front of everything in the Quick Play filter, Gun Game Reloaded is actually still in the rotation. You just need to go into that Quick Play filter to actually see it. So you can still play that from last week if you had a good time with that, but that's the playlist that we're added in here with this week. Realism is, of course, your standard minimal HUD, lethal headshot damage, and your subsequent mosh pit of modes underneath that. You end up seeing that Ground War, of course, brings it back to normal. Tanks and helicopters and the likes are now back in play. If you had the Plunder Pack from last week, I'm pretty sure this is now the first time you can play around with those IAV and APC skins, to my knowledge. But one thing that, even though I'm not a huge fan of Standard Ground War because of those tanks, one thing that's nice is that players can now work towards those Season 3 ribbons if they didn't complete the IAV kill challenge, which is, I think, 50 if I'm not mistaken off the top of my head. But last week, if you were going for that challenge, you literally couldn't do it because Boots on the Ground War doesn't have tanks in there. So that's something that you can now progress towards once again. Gunfight Blueprints continues from last week, in which it's Gunfight, but with some customization flair to it. Gunfight Knives Only is, of course, your 3v3 action with an extra player and only knives, throwing knives, and finishing moves. So it's an interesting spin on that for another week that's continuing on. Demolition is also staying, which I'm okay with this personally. I enjoyed Demo in this game so far from the few matches that I played with it last week when it was introduced. It was good fun, so you can play around with that one a little bit further. And then finally, Dirty Old Houseboat is, of course, your Shipment, Rust, and Shoot House all in one playlist, and a mosh pit of different game modes for you to play with. Now, Shipment 24/7 seems to have had its time in the limelight and maybe back on hold for a little bit. I'd imagine we see it at least one more time here at it, though truth be told, I did enjoy those 2 weeks of having Shipment right there in front of us and not having to compete with really any other maps, just because with Obsidian still so fresh in everybody's mind, and with players likely not having the opportunity to play the game 24/7 to progress towards that, that's the most time efficient to work towards those challenges or other weapon ranks and other weapon challenges they may be going for. So that's something that I was a huge fan of whenever that was around the last 2 weeks here. But while it's also nice to play, of course, on Rust and Shoot House, I see that a lot of people did enjoy Shipment 24/7, myself included, though of course I'm sure a lot of you guys are also maybe tired of it. So it is what it is, but that's our playlist here for the MP side. As for Warzone, this is where things get kind of weird because we have next to nothing new. We have quads, trios, solo stimulus for Battle Royale, and Blood Money, which as of last Tuesday when this update happened, the only thing that wasn't there was solo stimulus trios for BR. But that was added in on Friday, and as such, we haven't seen anything change since this, I guess, weekend update. If I were to guess, I'd say that maybe we see an LTM introduced perhaps on Friday, since again, Stimulus Solos was introduced this past Friday, so it's just kind of weird that we didn't see anything updated on the normal Tuesday playlist refresh here on that side. But as for the shop, that's the only other real key changes, I guess you can say, that were somewhat made on the smaller end of things still, but changes no less. For the shop here, we saw two main new featured items introduced, that being the Iskra Bundle, but also the Twin Suns Bundle. Now, for the Iskra Bundle, we talked about here a couple of times on the channel already because there was a backdoor where you could actually already get that. So that means that for a very small window of time on Wednesday, you actually had access to this via the vehicle customization, but we've talked about that here already. And with this bundle, you of course get Iskra, the FR556 and 50GS blueprints, a vehicle skin for the helicopter, a watch, a melee weapon, a finishing move, a equip, a calling card, and an emblem for 2,400 COD points. Now, the cool thing about the weapons is that they do come with the dismemberment effect. So they're tracer packs, but also they have that gibbing feature enabled. So if you want to check that out, that's there for you guys for 2,400 COD points, and it's seemingly the standard for all extracurricular operators that we end up getting within Modern Warfare. Outside of that, we end up seeing the Twin Suns bundle, which is available for only 1,300 COD points. This comes along with the M91 Parallax and the Binary Stars 50 GS. I think both of these weapons actually look great. They, of course, come with the Inner Light emblem and the Stellar Wind calling card, but the problem is that there's so many blueprints, I think, for the 50 GS, and the M91 is a weapon that's pretty solid, but it's not really in my everyday personal use. So this one really comes down to if you find those weapons worth it and you find those designs worth it as well. I think they look really cool, but I just wish they were kind of on different weapons. One thing that wasn't introduced today, but I would imagine, of course, maybe comes with next week's update, and we'll talk about how that might actually be a larger update to begin with. One thing, though, that a lot of people have been pointing out, and actually I'm kind of surprised they haven't released already, is that Ghost Contingency bundle, to which it's the classic Ghost skin from Loose Ends that everybody knows and loves, and it's one that makes it more so in line with that Modern Warfare 2, I guess you can say, canon. But honestly, it's a really cool looking skin for Ghost, and of course, this also, if you take a look at it on COD Tracker's database, it comes along with a Kilo 141 blueprint, an X16 blueprint, a weapon charm, a melee blueprint, an operator equip, a calling card, an emblem, and a spray alongside that. We don't know when this will be introduced, but with now all of the operators being exhausted in the shop normally, and now there just being other items to fill out this, it comes along at the price point of a new operator, so that might be something we see next week or the final week of Season 3, but that's still to come as well, but wasn't introduced with this update. Now, when it comes to updates, that's all that we had today, which again is on the lesser side of things. We were kind of hoping for a little bit more, but alas, we did not. What we're still waiting for, though, is actually still a decent bit of at least big ticket items. We know that we have Hard Hat and IL-9, which we talked about before. We know that we have at some point new Mastery calling cards, which maybe that comes in the next update, maybe it doesn't. But we also have something that personally, from the perspective of rolling in, trying to play some aggressive games in Warzone, I'm looking forward to an RPG nerf, because snake shots were nerfed, yes, but RPGs are those next things that really is a case of becoming the new meta, which you can have all the gun skill in the world, but the moment you go up against an RPG, you're kind of done for. Now, like we talked about in yesterday's Week at a Glance video, we talked about how there was the possibility that maybe it would have happened today. That, of course, didn't happen, but we thought that because Joe Seacott branded this a couple of times as the mid-season update. We're already currently past the halfway point of the midpoint of the season, with only 3 weeks left now, and as of next week now becoming the next likely candidate for when we can anticipate that, that'll only be 2 weeks left within the season, so that's more so an end-of-season update if you ask me, rather than the actual midpoint or mid-season. But being branded the mid-season update, we of course know that we have one coming, and I can't imagine that we see one happening the last week of the season going into Season 4 the following, just because that's kind of content overload for how they usually run things. So I kind of expect this to be next week, but still, no less, we have quite a bit up on deck. And not just necessarily even the things that we see here on the front end whenever that update eventually does come. Of course, we do have those maps, which are nice. We have probably some weapon tuning, being that there's going to be an RPG tuning pass, so maybe some other are thrown in there. But I'm also looking forward to seeing the stuff on the back end that this introduces, because I can almost guarantee you that we'll see some data mine stuff here pertaining to Season 4 and what's upcoming then, because it's the last update presumably before Season 4's introduction. And yes, while there will be a title update that you'll need to download for Season 4 at the beginning of June, there's gonna be strings and assets already in the game files that can't be removed without breaking something in the build here with that. So we should have some insight as to what's coming up even after that, but also I think it'd be kind of cool because we may end up seeing some progression on that air quote Easter egg for Modern Warfare and Warzone's bunkers, telephones, all that kind of stuff around the world of Verdansk. So there's definitely gonna be a lot of insightful stuff here within the next update, and that's what I'm really looking forward to. And if I'm honest with you, I would have loved to have some new maps and all that kind of stuff to play around with today, but I think that stuff is probably what I'm more so interested in, learning a little bit more about what's coming up and some of the plans for the near future. So other than that, though, I guess that's kind of everything that we have here on the table, everything that was introduced within Modern Warfare as of today, and what we know of for the foreseeable future. So keep an eye out for everything here with this. We may have a better idea of when this next update comes along, but one thing also we don't, which definitely just keep an eye out for as is some 2020 rumors. But anyways, that's where we're going to wrap it up. So love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Do you think we'll be getting the next update for Modern Warfare as of next week? Do you think we'll be seeing some things that point towards Season 4 in those game files afterwards? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare, updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. We got you covered in their channel. So if any of that interests you, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. And if you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected with outside of YouTube. I live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. Once that out of the way, thank you guys all so much for watching. Mine is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.